Approval of agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion. Motion by Ms. Shea.
Second.
Second by Ms. Feather. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Consent agenda. Approval of minutes, regular meeting, 3/12/2026, executive session meeting, 3/12/2026, special meeting budget workshop, 3/24/2026, and school bus inspection reports, 3/12/2026 and 3/11/2026. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Smith,
Second.
second by Ms. Feather. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Student government report? Oh, next time. Yeah.
That's like my favorite part of any meeting.
Report out of executive session meeting. We did not have executive session this evening. Personnel announcements, Ms. Dresnick?
Good evening. We have 3 announcements this evening. We have 2 unpaid leave of absences for the 26-27 school year. The first is Lauren Durante, grade 2 at Ashton, and Kathleen Miziazik, grade 2 at Ashton. We have a resignation of an employee who's currently on an unpaid leave of absence, Joshua Lima, STEM educator at Cumberland High School.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Thornton?
Evening, Madam Chair. We have a couple of guests here tonight. I think first we're going to call up Miss Malcolm. She had a great event at Cumberland Hill, the Wax Museum projects. Miss Malcolm, come on up and talk about that if you could.
No, just right. I mean, hi, hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to be here this evening. As you can see, this is just a few of examples. Our grade 4 students at Cumberland Hill recently completed their annual Wax Museum projects. As part of this assignment, students selected an important figure from history or a current individual who has made a meaningful impact on society. Students completed age-appropriate research, organized their findings on a display board that included key facts, timelines, and illustrations to support their learning. To further enrich their experience, students presented their projects to peers and visitors dressing as their chosen figure. And these are just a few examples. We had George Washington, Walt Disney, Kamala Harris. Who else do we have? Stan Lee. He was very excited about Stan Lee. This one I did not know. Ebenezer Cobb Morley, who brought soccer to the world. So there was quite a variety of figures, and they actually all had a button, and you had to walk up and press the button, and they would go into character and explain and share all the information about the individual they researched. So it was really exciting. In the morning, they had family members come in and grandparents, and then in the afternoon, they had students from lower grades come through to experience their wax museum. So it was a great activity. So yeah, thank you.
And next up, we did have Reading Week at Ashton. We had some great guest readers, Weatherman AJ Mastrangelo, Cumberland PD, school committee members, parent guests. I actually had a chance to read. I'll tell you, reading is only half the fun. It's the Q&A after the reading, where they look you up and down, see what you're wearing, ask you about your clothes. They found out I was the guy that canceled school when it snows. So that was really big. But I encourage you all to read. It's just a good time. Next up, we have Pam Storm to talk about a logo contest winner.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. So on the side of me is my amazing phys ed teacher, Kristen Macedo. And this evening's presentation about the logo contest is all her. She decided to bring in something new to McCourt, a new unit that is very, very exciting, was well received. And I believe you said not one kid went to the nurse. So we'll take it. We'll take it. So this year in PE, we were lucky enough to introduce a skateboarding unit made possible through a grant from First Push Syndicate. This program not only brought skateboarding into our gymnasium, but also emphasized creativity and self-expression. Throughout the unit, students have had the opportunity to participate in monthly competitions that challenge their creative side. It has been an exciting way to bring art, design, and physical activity together in phys ed. We had 2 national winners at McCourt in regards to our phys ed unit. Our first one was Max Lombardi Petro. One of the competitions that he went for was the Get On Board Logo Design Challenge. This particular contest received the highest number of submissions that First Push Syndicate has ever seen, making Max's achievement even more impressive. Out of all the entries from across the country, his design stood out as the winner. He earned a complete skateboarding kit, including skateboard, helmet, and elbow knee pads, as well as stickers, and had his artwork turned into a canvas for him. We are very proud of his achievements. Our second winner was Alexia Beltran. Another competition that they entered challenged students to design their dream skate park. Alexia rose to the top with a design that was creative and thoughtfully planned. Her vision and attention to detail earned her first place nationally as well. For her achievement, they also sent her a complete skateboarding kit as well as stickers. We're very proud of the creativity and effort that she also put forth. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
As for the announcements, we had to share this, was too cute not to share. The preschool, Miss Rachel and staff on March 13th organized a Wizard of Oz themed event, crafts and dancing. They packed the Trans Gym. Just a great time had by all. So we had to share that with you just to show you how much fun they had. Mike, construction's moving forward. We actually met today. They're starting to get ready to pour the slabs for the different levels, putting in the roof drainage. They're doing the framing on the outsides. The stairs came in. You can see them over here. The stairs came in with a big crane again, and they're now being fastened. So all moving forward. They said it'll be buttoned up probably in a couple of months. You'll see the whole building buttoned up. So it really is moving along. It's starting to look like something. So it's quite exciting. So that's all we have for tonight, Madam Chair.
Any questions? And timeline is good for construction?
We're good.
Perfect, thank you. Next is reports of standing committee.
Right, go any further? I'll wait for Tony. Mr. Damana.
I'm here.
All right. So we're just starting, Tony, and I gave them the visual aid. I'm going to take them through it as soon as Mike can get that on the screen for us. All right. So I tried to encapsulate everything we do on one sheet of paper to give you a framework of how at least my brain works and what I'm looking at when I think about making recommendations to all of you. So Mike, if you go to the first one, slide 2. Here we go. So the inside, obviously, we have the students. We have over 5,000 students in Cumberland. There they are. The first circle, we have the teachers that are, in those classrooms directly. There are 344 of that. Special ed 65, itinerants 53, paraprofessionals 100. So that's like in the immediate second circle right there. In that, as you'll see in a minute, in my current advice to you, I'm saying take 2 elementaries out of the equation as we can right now. And I'm saying also at the high school, we have that study hall classroom we could take. So that's what I'm recommending there. Is that you, Mike, or me? Okay. In the next circle, starting over here on the left, obviously, we have the deans. We have 2 at the high school. We have 1 in the court. Custodians, we have 34. That sounds like a lot, but the standard is 28,000 square feet per custodian, and we're right there. And think about it, we also increased our footprints in many of our buildings, so that we really, we really have no ability to cut custodians. Building secretaries, we have 11. Clerks, 3.5. Career coordinator at the high school, that's also part of the RIDE regulations. PBIS coordinator. And MLL teachers, good story here. In 2018, we had 137 MLLs. Now we're around 360, and we have 16 teachers. So we really are growing that group quite a bit. Interventionists, we have 20.5. That's those kids that need more support, right? And then we have above that essentials over here. I want to spend a minute on that. Essentials are those kids that are closer, not quite needing intervention, but they need some support. And we added those jobs around 2021. And we added, you can see in the sheet there, we had all at the middle level. So right now in my recommendation to you, I'm saying take 4 out of that 12. That's my current thinking for you. But that's right there. Nurses, we have 9. Nurses back in the day in Cumberland, we shared nurses. And we added nurses because we felt there are plenty of medically fragile students now. We need a nurse every building. So I would never recommend you reduce a nurse, but we have 9. Social workers, we are woefully under the standard. And later on, I'll go to probably Alicia here to see what the standard is. I think we're low, but how many are we short by the standard? 20? Yeah. So obviously, we're not going to recommend cutting nurses. Assistant principals up here, just to frame that for you. On the outside, we have the high school, you have 2. The middles each have the 1 and 1 elementary at all the locations. School psychology, IT clerks, guidance. Then the outside circle. And I'll start over here on the bottom left. These are things that are contracted. They're humans, people that work, but not on the payroll, but we actually pay for these services. We have an outside student assistance counselor. We have clinical support, and we can talk about that a little bit. With a firm, they do a lot of support for our students, and these are students that are in need of a lot of support. If we didn't have that support, we'd be sending more kids out to outplacements. So we can talk about it with Alicia in more detail, but it is money well spent. We have OT, we have PT, we have vision, one-to-one nursing. In a lot of IPs, we have nursing needs. There's that number. Interpreters, that's the thing. And the last one down below is auditory. So those are all things we also have. Over here, special ed department, you can see we have a director, we have the assistant, 3 coordinators, 1 clerk, HR, and I won't read this all to you, but you can see the HR here. Assistant soup's office, you can see we have 3 coaches, we have the coordinators. And I would say to this, I know sometimes people make the argument that we can reduce those because that's, maybe deemed desk work. And I would say these are like force multipliers. These people affect multiple buildings. And you think about, we always talk about also that slide quadrant of success, right? Cumberland, e.g. Barrington. I think the reason we're doing well is we have great teachers, great staff, but also we have a plan, and the plan's being operationalized with these folks. I think most districts don't have that, and I would never recommend you cut those, but that's that. We can have that conversation with Mr. Damana. There they are. Finance up here, we can talk to Mr. McGrath about that, but that is kind of the minimum. We used to have 2.0 in payroll, and now we're like, Tim, 1.3? 1.2, sorry. 0.3. 0.3. Up here, facilities, you can see here, we have one I'm recommending we don't fill. It's a retirement. You'll see that in a second. That's the assistant carpenter. We did that a couple of years ago, the 2 groundskeepers, and we did that, you may recall, because we were always behind on trying to keep up with the work outside. So that was a challenge. And then my office, of course, we have the greeter, which we took off on the list, and we have Tracy Walton under my office. And then technology. I would tell you with technology, when you look at like things like support, like technicians, the standard is much higher. We should have many more technicians than we have. We're already kind of under. So it's not a surprise that in many of the categories we're under the standard. That's why we're 17,000 per student, because we have less people doing the work. So Mike, if you hit the button, these green circles are the current recommendations I'm having you consider. And they're on your, I'll show the slide in a second, but you can see we have the admin greeter. We have a 0.5 clerk that's retiring over here, right? We have a 0.5 interventionist. It's a reading 0.5. We have 4 essentials recommended to you. We have teachers, 1 at the high school for that clipper block component, and we have the 2 elementaries I'm recommending to you, and 1 retirement over here for the carpenter assistant. Mike, hit the slide. That's what it looks like. That's the current recommendation for you to take some of these, take none of this, take it all. It's up to you now. So we're saying here are all the positions. We're assuming breakage of 300,000. Last year we did 700, and that was probably a bit ambitious. We think 300 is doable. We already have 5 retirements. So we have some breakage already. So I think that's a pretty good number. So that's what we're currently recommending to you. Before I stop, one more thing, Mike. I know we talked about it on Tuesday, but for the good of the group who weren't here on Tuesday, this is from RIDE. I know that there was some discussion on Tuesday about just, what's happening locally and statewide. This is from RIDE, and this shows you since around 2018, the state's lost teachers, 192. Paraprofessionals, they've added actually 280. You can see here, admin, district admin, 115 has been added statewide, and they've lost over 7,000 kids. Compare that to Cumberland, and you can see over here, we added 21 teachers. If you think about what that is, that's the essentials and probably the MLL. Those 2 things from 18, that kind of makes sense to me. That makes up a lot of that number. Paraprofessionals, we have 2, and then we have district admin, 0. And this one down below, Mr. McGrath, I know we have a couple landscapers, and we also put some of the salary for Mr. McGrath and his controller in food service. That kind of carries over too, so that's not surprising. But my point is here, we gained a couple hundred kids. I don't think we're heavy administratively. I know I sometimes hear that, but I would just want to see the data to show that. This is from RIDE, and it just doesn't bear it out. So with that, I'll go back to my seat, and we can have discussions about whatever you want to talk about.
Yep, just 2 things. I think student government is here, so we're gonna just, if that's okay, fill you in 1 minute. And I just have one question on the essentials versus interventionists. I think I'm confused. On the cuts on the paper, it says 4 interventionists, 2 McCourt, 2 North, but then they're called essentials. It's more of a verbiage thing than it is.
The correct reduction recommended is essentials.
Okay, so
4 essentials, 2 each middle currently, and a 0.5 interventionist for reading. If that's
okay, so that's, okay, I'm
our-
trying to match the
that's our bad.
definitions.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Ms. Smith.
Could I just add to that? Because I had the same question. Can you tell us then what is essential and what's interventionist? What is the difference? Because
Yeah. That's why I had Mr. Damana on the call. Mr. Damana, did you hear that question?
I did. Good evening, everybody. So actually, there's one thing that I have to correct really quickly. So on Dr. Thornton's concentric circle, it did say that we had 3 curriculum coordinators. We do not. We only have 2. One was cut two years ago, and that was the 9 through 12 curriculum coordinator. So the office
think
only
Tony-
has 2. Yeah.
Tony, apologies on that. I think we put the MTSS coordinator in there too. I think that's part of that. Does that make sense?
MTSS. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Got it. All right. I was
So-
assuming that was curriculum.
Tony, how
Okay.
about that question if you could?
Yeah, sir, sure. So essentials teachers are tier two support system. So within the Rhode Island regs, we need to provide tiered instruction, which is covered under our MTSS policy. Typically at the secondary level across the state, providing tier two instruction is not a typical service that districts provide. It's very difficult to do that because students will go to their core English teachers, say their grade 6 ELA, and if they need support in a traditional model, teachers would either have to stay before or after school because kids have to go to each core class, right? So they go from ELA to math, they don't get support. So when we put the essential system in, that was inserting a tier two system at the secondary level so that if kids are struggling in math and ELA, they have a support system class to help them be successful in core. Those are essentials teachers. So they're at the tier two level. Interventionists are tier three. They come into play when students are not responding to either core instruction or tier two instruction. It's the third level. It's the most intense. Where we're pulling them in small group. They're no longer in a larger group setting for that tiered instruction. They get their core, but we just add another level for them to try and close gaps for them, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, Ms. Smith. And then I'm gonna have the student government person interrupt us, sorry. Yeah, go.
So when we discussed this at our budget meeting several days ago, we talked about we talked about it as interventionists at the McCourt and North Cumberland as the proposal to cut two of each of those. So those are the tier twos. And at that time you had said that they were more intense. They were like 6 students per group, and then it's 6 groups in a day or something. So is that accurate still for tier two, or is that the tier three?
What I said was, yeah, so essentials, for every one essentials teacher that's cut, it takes away a school's ability to serve up to 15 to 20 students. For every interventionist that is cut, the tier three, it takes away the ability for a school to service up to 36 students because they would see 6 kids in a small group, 6 periods a day, which would give schools the ability to see up to 36 students in that formula. So tier two essentials, 15 to 20 kids. Tier three, up to 36 kids.
So we were discussing the interventionists. So now when we're saying it's essentials,
I think the term, this is my thought process.
we did talk about the 36.
The term on the letter you provided says 2 interventionist teachers at McCourt, 2 interventionist teachers at North. I think that's what we
So
call.
That's our apologies then, but
Well-
that's our bad.
So it's essentials.
It's essentials.
So I think the first 2 should be essentials. So it'd be 4 essentials by this form, and then
Right.
0.5 interventionists. The 0.5 interventionists serve up to 36 students, where in essential, no? 18, I meant. 1 would serve 36, half would serve 18, and an essentials teacher is 15 to 20. Does that make? I think it's just a term thing. Okay.
Correct. You're correct. So the bottom line is when you're talking about the 4 essentials positions, what you're essentially doing is taking a math and an ELA away from McCourt and a math and an ELA away from NCMS in the essentials tier 2 model. When you're talking interventionists, you're correct. So a half of an interventionist would be up to 18 students, correct?
And the only thing I would add, as you're deliberating about all this, I would say it's early in the budget process. I was talking to Ms. Smith earlier, and tonight really is about you picking a number to supply to the town, because we know things can change internally here between March and June, and we're asking for the maximum from the town. And if that comes in, that's awesome. If it didn't come into the maximum, then we're probably doing more work on this sheet later in the spring.
Before we dive too far into the budget, and I just apologize for doing this, but I do appreciate someone from the high school coming out, and thank you so much for being here. You are more than welcome to come to the podium and report out on the student government activities. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a little late. Good evening, members of the school committee. I am proud to share the incredible success of our recent fundraising efforts in the support of the Jimmy Fund. From March 16th through 27th, through a series of creative, student-driven activities, our school community came together and raised thousands of dollars for this meaningful cause. Our fundraising initiative centered around friendly class competitions that encourage participation and school spirit. Each A4 class competed, and the winning class should find out tomorrow who won a pizza party. Students eagerly contributed to events that added both excitement and a sense of unity throughout the building. Among the highlights was the opportunity to bedazzle Mr. Estrada and Mr. Diesel's head, which quickly became a fan favorite and drew enthusiastic support from all students across all grades. In addition, students worked together to reach fundraising goals that resulted in some memorable moments, including taping Mr. Cardozo to the cafeteria wall. Laughter and energy filled the space as students watched their teachers hanging on by some duct tape. Mr. Curran also offered his head and beard for a choice of numerous styles. Mr. Curran humorously noted that while the hair on his head was scarce, his beard was plentiful and will certainly be missed. His willingness to participate exemplified the generosity and spirit that defined this entire initiative. We also had 11 staff members raffle off their parking spots. The week before April break, 11 lucky juniors and seniors will not have to walk up from Tucker, and instead the students will have to. I meant the teachers will have to. To conclude our fundraising efforts, we are offering students a special showing of the variety show again, which will take place during last period tomorrow. This exclusive performance serves as both a celebration of our success and a reward for the students' dedication and involvement. We sold tickets for tomorrow's performance, and all the proceeds will go to this worthy fundraiser. It has been truly inspiring to witness our school community come together in support of such an important cause. The enthusiasm, generosity, and school pride displayed throughout this effort reflect the very best of what our students and staff represent. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you. Appreciate you
Yeah.
coming out.
And Madam Chair, McCourt's award winners have arrived. We could spend one more second with Ms. Storm with her award winners.
Good evening. Here I am again. Alexia, could you please come up? And I believe Max's mom is here. Could you come up representing Max? Earlier, I gave a brief overview of the amazing awards that they received, but I will, if you don't mind, reread their sentences so the families may hear it. Our first winner in the First Push Syndicate competition was Max Lombardi Petro. One of the competitions that they were involved in was the Get On Board Logo Contest Challenge. This particular contest received the highest number of submissions First Push Syndicate has ever seen, making Max's achievement even more impressive. Out of all the entries from across the country, his design stood out as the winner. He earned a complete skateboarding package, including stickers, and had his artwork turned into a canvas. We're extremely proud of his accomplishments. Our second winner was Alexia Beltran, another competition that challenged students to design their dream skate park. Alexia rose to the top of with a design that was creative and thoughtfully planned. Her vision and attention to detail earned her first place nationwide. For her achievement, she also receives a complete skateboarding package with stickers. We're very proud of the creativity and effort that she also put forward in her work.
All right, Madam Chair, and back to the regular scheduled budget.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone's flexibility. Appreciate that. Okay, so back to old business discussion and a vote to approve fiscal year 27 school budget amendments. Do I have questions from the committee?
A question
Oh.
about the essentially
Yeah, Ms. Shea.
question that we were just talking about. I know that it was mentioned, Mr. Damana, about 15 to 20 students that would essentially go without those services or that opportunity to participate in that essentials class. What happens to those 15 to 20 students moving forward in the event that they are not participating or performing to the best of their ability?
Yeah, so that's a really, really good question. So when new data sets come out, what ends up happening is, difficult decisions have to be made on the part of within the buildings. And so, they have to prioritize. If there are students sometimes that are struggling in both ELA and math, they would probably have to prioritize one over the other, perhaps, depending on how the scheduling goes. But if you
And I think
if you
froze.
think back to what I said about I'm sorry.
I think you froze a little bit.
Okay. If you go back to what I first said about models that don't have essentials where there's no tier two instruction, basically those students would have to rely on teachers providing them with extra support before or after school, but would not necessarily have access to that tier two during the school day.
That leads into my next question, if I have a moment. When it comes to relying on teachers after school participation, there's a lack of clearly busing here in the town. And obviously we can't afford that either. So what would a remedy for that be?
So is that question directed at me?
Anybody? Anybody. I'm open that for everybody.
There are grant monies, the Learn 365 grant that we have and we get from the state in collaboration with the mayor's office. We have utilized that money for busing for school programs, before and after school programs within our schools, and we budgeted those monies. There are monies available for busing. Busing does take up a lot of that money. Not leaving much for, paying teachers and stuff. So it's a delicate balance. But at the end of the day, there are grant monies that the state offers us through the Learn 365 that we do have. And Tim and I work together on that closely.
That's another question. Sorry. I just want to make sure because it is a significant amount of students that would potentially fall into like that bracket. I'm not sure if Tim could answer the question or Dr. Thornton or yourself, but with the amount that we're potentially looking at, about probably 100 kids per building, that's 200 kids. I know definitely down in like District 1, when it comes to like busing and things of that nature, we tend to kind of get the short end of the stick when it comes to assistance, when it comes to after-school busing arrangements. So I just want to ensure that that district for sure is definitely going to be able to be accommodated in the event that this is the way that we have to obviously move forward.
If memory serves, and Tim helped me, the 365 grant, wasn't that McCourt last time?
I can speak to it. Anytime we get Learn 365 grant money, we allocate it equally K to 8 as best we can. One of the things that is a challenge is of course principals do their best to offer the programs before and after school, but one of the challenges is actually you can't make the kids show up before or after school, right? And so sometimes even with offering those types of things, it can create issues for families, and we don't always get the student participation. So it's a delicate balance. So even though you may have the money and you may have the program in place, you still may not be able to execute what the principals want to execute in their buildings. And if there are principals there, they can speak to that difficulty.
Perfect. All right, great. Thank you. I just have one last question. For those that weren't here during our budget meeting earlier this week, I just want to kind of go back into the whole conversation that we had with the academic coaches and like the positions that you had mentioned. How many times would you say within like this past year that they've attended a building? And what does that kind of look like on a normal day-to-day basis for them?
So coaches are in the buildings. When I say regularly, I would say that it really depends on what the responses are and what the needs are in the respective buildings. A lot of times for me, it depends on the time of year. When data comes out and I want to look at and do analysis, I ask the coaches to spend a lot of time analyzing data with me and creating specific plans for PD to enact, to think about how we're going to respond to certain things. And then once we come up with a plan, we try to systemize, okay, how do we create a system where we can get into the buildings and create equal opportunity for that? At times, coaches will have teachers come in to the building and we provide the professional development. Like, for example, we spent a lot of time this year going over and revisiting the grading system at the middle school level in a few content areas. And then another big portion of their time when that happens is now they're in the buildings, working with the buildings. Principals are free to access them at any time for any specific thing that they want them to do as well. So it's not only what I'm asking the coaches to do, but they have that binary role where principals can pull them in to ask them to do specific work too. And principals do that. Laura, Jamie, and Olivia provide in-building professional development at the bequest of the actual principals as well. So it's not just coming from me.
Okay, perfect. And then you did mention also too earlier this week that 2 of those 3 coaches, those are actually through the grant. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 2.5. I don't remember if Tim, you were able to get 2.5 into the grant, but at least 2, full.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other, sorry, Heather, Ms. Shea. Any other questions from the committee? Ms. Smith?
So I guess it's more of a view. Some of these positions, and we're looking at it with reductions with specific targets around them. And I'm gonna speak for myself. I don't feel comfortable with some of these positions, whether that's an essential or an interventionist. I don't feel comfortable that we should be putting them at the forefront of what potentially could be the cuts. I know that we have to get this budget to the mayor by April 6th. I know that we have 1 week left to do that. We all know that there are going to be cuts. We do have to do something with that. And the budget that we've been presented is about the positions. It's a collective. It's not, oh, we took out this position or that position. It's, we went down 9 positions or 8 positions, whatever it may be. I don't feel comfortable approving this budget tonight to even get it to the mayor if we are going to target the specifics as we've mentioned here. I do think that it would be a great disservice, especially at McCourt Middle School, who has done so much in the last year and a half to really change things around down there. I do think that it's detrimental to them. We see that down in, our Title I schools. So cutting and moving things around could be detrimental. I don't have a problem if we say we need to approve the budget and do it with 9 cuts, and then we have to work through those cuts. We're going to have to find other ways to look at this, in my personal view.
Sorry, yes, Miss. Oh, no. Dr. Thornton.
I totally get it. These are tough conversations, but at the end of the day, whether it's now or June, we are reducing people. I know back in the day, 2010, I think the budgets then were turned in with a bracket called concessions, and they didn't name what it was, just $1 million concessions. I would recommend you don't do that, but if you can't live with these reductions, I'd recommend you find something you can live with, but try and pick something so we're not having like a bracketed other or concession.
Ms. Feather, and then I'll speak.
So I agree with everything, all the questions from Ms. Shea and Ms. Smith, and appreciate those. Couple of things that, since I wasn't able to be there earlier this week, a couple of questions that I have. We've got confidential assistants for each position. Have we talked about any shared services operations? So any way that maybe we could share some of those duties across instead of having all the separate ones?
I have looked at that, but right now, like I said, we are lean. A stat on Tuesday, I know you weren't here on Tuesday, we talked about admin in general.
Yeah.
And just to paraphrase, Ride had a metric, I think it was like 600 kids for an admin number.
Yep.
We're double that, we're 1,290. So we are The one I gave Tuesday, the example is tech director, also the key guy, the door guy, setting up, breaking down the meeting. Same thing with the folks in the offices. A lot of them are cross-trained. They fill in. I don't think we could reduce one and have one be in two places at once. I'm not sure how that would work.
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had as well was around, I know that when we were talking about the curriculum coaches and everything, and two of them being grant funded, that's fantastic. The curriculum coordinators, I don't know if that's Mr. Damana?
Mr. Damana,
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit more about those?
So the curriculum, before I answer the question, I want to drive a point home. If you don't have district personnel driving the professional development and the work that goes on the ground, it makes synergy among schools very, very difficult. The reason why we've had a decade long of success, it's because we have been able to add and build and continue to scale, much like a business scales, and create the conditions that support the system that we currently have in place. So when we're talking about, I'll go back to essentials for a second and the coaches that handle tier 2 and do that work. When you have core teachers that are teaching ELA and math, and you have this parallel, right, system that is going to help kids in tier 2 with these essentials teachers. In order for there to be synergy between those two groups of teachers, right, we need people bringing, facilitating, organizing, and creating the conditions for that to happen. It's of that because we don't have time. We don't have PLC time. You can't make teachers meet during PLC, periods. And so that's why those positions are extremely important. I'm going to circle back to the coordinators. The coordinators, we have a K-8.
That was the coaches?
That was the coach. Well, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'm asking about the coordinators.
Yep.
Thanks. Oh, I think you're frozen.
So the coordinators, you've got a K-8 coordinator for math and science. Okay, they've been in place for a very long, since I've been there, 13 years. They drive all of the curriculum implementation, grading system work, mapping session work, professional development for the district. They each handle, if you think about it, 9 grade levels per content area. They're handling 18 grade levels worth of content area, and they work closely with me to implement that work. The MTSS coordinator that Dr. Thornton was talking about is in charge of the entire tiered system for the district as it pertains to housing data, making sure that interventionists are on the same page, making sure that we're responding to data, compiling all of the MTSS data for the district. And so they all have very unique, very specific duties. I planned on, at the achievement meeting on Tuesday, I planned on going into detail about this stuff because I know a lot of people have questions about this. So at achievement, I plan on talking more in depth about their roles and how they approach their roles.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One, and again, this is just, I meant to add this to the spreadsheet and I just didn't get a chance to, but one thought that I had around those types of positions was, would there be any way for us to cross-train educators to also do some of those roles? And, kind of like how you have department heads and folks taking on additional responsibilities. Is there any way to kind of have a curriculum coordinator as like a 0.25 or something position in each school as opposed to, or no, I'm seeing you shake your head. So
we have content leaders. There's a difference between being a content leader and a curriculum expert. It's really complex work. I know it is difficult for someone who's not in it in the day-to-day to really understand the complexity of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. These are fair questions, but they are complex roles, and we have an infrastructure where we have teacher leaders content leaders at the building. Sometimes, depending on the initiative, we have to pay teachers to help us implement, where we do a train the trainer model, because even the coordinators can't be everywhere. Like I said, they're covering 18 different grade levels. And so in terms of content. So if you think about, Bethany or Kathy, who are the curriculum coordinators respectively for K-8, dealing with kindergarten content in math is a very different preparation when they're stepping in front of teachers to do PD for grade 8 content, right? And so there's a lot of work and time that has to go into in preparation before they even step foot in front of a teacher. They may have to prepare sometimes 2 weeks before just a 2 or 3 hour professional development session.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go into Mr. Dean, you had a question? So right now, it's the most difficult budget season I have gone through here. I understand that this was kind of predicted after COVID money came in, 2026 into 2027 budget was going to be very challenging. I think we can all agree at this table, we don't want to cut positions in people. It's not something we want to do at all. I can say that I don't want to do that, and I think most people at this table, if not all, would agree with that. Unfortunately, in situations like this, what I want to do as a person versus what I need to do as a school committee member are conflicting.
Yeah.
They're in constant conflict. But I do trust the leaders of the Cumberland School District that have been here for years and the teachers and everyone that's done it and watched our school department in our town go from 20 to in the top 10, and watched the RICAS scores really just trend up. So I trust the people making these decisions because I know they care about everyone in all of these positions, probably more than any one of us, because they work with them every day. I sit here as the chair of the school committee, but I don't have the years of experience. I don't have the knowledge. I don't even have the degree in education. All I have is I was elected and I'm thoroughly grateful for that. And I hate making decisions around things like this. Unfortunately, at this time, we need to, because if not, we're going to run in the red. And when you run in the red, as other towns have seen in cities, the state then runs you. The town no longer runs you. And that's,
No.
it's not easy. It's
Not
just,
an option.
it's just awful. And we don't like to make this decision. So I just want everyone to know that no one's taking this lightly. No one wants to do this. Unfortunately, this is the numbers that have been presented to us. And we, by this budget, I understand as of right now for the town, is asking for the full 4% max that we can ask for per statute. We don't know what the town can do on the other side. So I just want everyone to know that we're trying our best with what we have. And I appreciate everyone's input at this table. And I also appreciate all the leaders that are here and have really worked on this, knowing that they're making very, very difficult decisions. Mr. Dean?
Yes, as you said, this budget already that we're having to cut is based on getting the maximum from the town. We're not going to get the maximum from the town. Last year, we got 2% or just under 2%. We've been told we're getting 0%. So there are going to be much deeper cuts coming. I mean, last year, the school committee put forward a resolution asking for the tax cap to get increased in the hopes that we would get more than the 2%, and we still didn't get what we asked for. The town council removed the 3% limit for the town just for 1 year. That was a 1 year. They're going to have to do that again. And it looks like they're going to have to do for more than the 3.5% they did last year. So we're not going to get the 4%. I voiced in the last budget meeting that I would not vote for a budget that made the cuts on the backs of the teachers. You can't teach kids without teachers. You can't fight a fire without the firemen, the admin people back directing the trucks and paying the bills there. I mean, you need them too, but you 100% need the teachers on the front lines teaching the kids. I know I know committee member Bacon asked for a list of cuts that had more admin heavy cuts. This budget going to the mayor is I mean, it's not going to be this budget, so we're going to have another whack at it. We're going to have another discussion about it, and we'll have more time to fine tune the budget and make our demands, not demands, but make our suggestions about what positions should or should not be cut. We talked about in the budget meeting that admin has gone up way more percentage wise than the teachers have. Teachers are more in line with the increase in the students. There was some discussion and some disagreement about what the term admin meant. But I don't think there was a disagreement that admin went up a lot more than the teachers did. We know that we're having trouble keeping to the cap limits in the classrooms, the 27 under the union contract cap limits. We know that as a council, as a committee, sorry. If we cut teaching positions, that's only going to get worse. The overages for the classrooms went from a budgeted $18,000 a year to $80,000 a year. If we cut teachers, that's only going to get worse. In my opinion, we're going to have to find a way to do it with less admin. If it's between cutting the teachers and cutting the admin, we're going to have to do it with less admin, in my opinion. And as Ms. Smith said and Ms. Fetter said, maybe we're going to have to share. And if some of the things get missed that aren't a teacher in front of a student, then we're going to have to, because of the budget and the way it's going, we're going to have to just accept that. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll just go back to the data from RIDE. Admin has not gone up. It's zero since 2018. We have added teachers. I know some of them, as you said, could be maybe classified as like not a teacher in a classroom, but still a teacher nonetheless. 21 teachers since 2018, MLL, essentials. That's where we've gained. Admin is zero. So please do not say admin's going up.
Well, as my understanding, Dr. Thornton, is, and I hear you on the overages, but per the CBA, there's only so many students that can be in a classroom. So if we were to get 100 more students into Cumberland, we would then have to hire the teachers to account for those students per CBA, and I'm assuming RIDE standards as well, but I can't, or CBA at least.
That's right. For example, right now in the current model, we're modeling 2 less grade 2s in that worksheet I always show you. And every summer, typically we get more students in, and we typically sometimes have to add a classroom. But right now we are modeling a grade 2 off the board on two of the buildings. But yeah, there's every likelihood that we could be adding this summer.
Ms. Smith?
I think the difficult part of this, and to what Mr. Dean had said as well, is, in the pre-budget meetings with the mayor, he said everyone should prepare for a 0% increase. Our students continue to get increased. We continue to gain students. We can't go with a 0% increase when we continue to take in more students. We've been fighting and pulling back and forth and trying to find money every single year. And the percentages that we're getting haven't equated to our growth that we've had. And I think that we really have to be careful. And again, to Mr. Dean's point, we've got to look at what's in front of the students, and we've got to make sure that we're servicing them the best that we can and with everything that we have. And right now we're asking for 4%, and there's multiple positions that are embedded that we're going to have to remove. We're having a difficult time talking about what those positions could be and not all in agreement, yet we could end up with a lot worse and have to find another $2 million in cuts if we don't get anything from the town. We can't tell the students to turn around and go somewhere else. We can't tell the town to, stop allowing growth, and that's only going to get worse. We took the largest aging population in 2020 in the state of Rhode Island was in Cumberland, and they're selling, and they're moving, and the students are coming in. That's not going to stop. We're in trouble.
Ms. Goldstein? So sorry, Ms. Goldstein?
Thank you. I agree that this is hard. No one wants to look at this and make reductions in staff. So I say that I do, but my job, as I see it, is looking at the district as a whole. And for me, as a whole, what I see is having coaches, having the coordinators does impact students. They may not be sitting in front of a student, but they are working with teachers. They are trying to get everybody on the same page. All teachers as close to on the same page in terms of curriculum delivery and curriculum expertise so that they can do the best by our students. So I see a lot of bad choices for cuts. Every choice is a bad cut. But where I sit as a person that has to look at my job, I have to look at the whole district. I have to take the budget submission, the proposed budget submission as it is right now. Thank you.
Ms. Feather? So kind of adding to that as well, when I ask questions about the administrator pieces and some of those other pieces as well, it's all in the spirit also of attempting to make sure that, you know, we're not losing teachers, right? So I want to reiterate to the superintendent and assistant superintendent and the team that I trust them. And I trust what their suggestions are. I know that we're going to be coming back once we find out what we're getting from the town. So, you know, it turns out, as it turns out, a lot more decisions might need to be made. But I inherently, at the end of the day, knowing that I'm not an educator, knowing that I am not in their role, and I couldn't understand half of the terms that Mr. Damana was saying because I'm not an educator. I have to trust at the end of the day what their suggestions are.
Madam Chair, may I interject for a moment?
Of course.
Thank you. So I'm gonna speak as a parent, and not only as a parent, but as you know, the assistant superintendent who has been in this district both as a principal and as a assistant soup. A lot of the decisions that I've made in creating and helping to create the conditions for where we are as a district came from being a parent and seeing, when I arrived here in this district, things that I did not like or agree with, and things that I felt like the district needed to fix for every single family that came into this district. Okay. Bob Mitchell was passionate, our former superintendent, about the same things that I was passionate about. And we were an underperforming district at that time. Very difficult as a principal at BF Norton with specialized programs and things that are going on, mental health behaviors, responding to things, to appropriately prepare professional development for my teachers. I was charged by Lisa Bolio to raise scores there at that school, and so did the superintendent that hired me, who's now sitting at that table right now, to raise math scores in that school. I had many conversations and many challenges. And right now, I know that our principals are bogged down. Many of our schools do not have vice principals. They're operating on their own. They're leaning on their guidance teams. They're leaning on teacher leaders to help them solve problems all day long. In my opinion, if the structure of how we drive professional development in this district, if the structure is taken away, if you take away the professional development elements that we have in place, I guarantee you, this is on camera, I guarantee you that the system will default eventually. Within 3 to 5 years, the system will default. Because we don't And so the changes in the things that we were able to build, and I understand budgets are hard, I get it. I'm a taxpayer, I get it. And difficult decisions do have to be made, and you as the committee are charged with that. I'm not underestimating that or diminishing that. But I feel compelled as a parent, K-8, as Mrs. Smith alluded to, people are coming into this district. I'm talking to real estate agents, and I ask them point blank, what is the reason? What are these families telling you? K-8 is the bread and butter of this district. I'm not, and the reason why it's the bread and butter is because that's when families come in. And not only that, but the better your K-8 system is, guess what? The better we can hand off high school students to our high school. And so I just caution you guys to really, really think about that, and please allow for the opportunity at Achievement to be a great forum for that conversation to happen, and hopefully principals will show up and can talk about how the system impacts them. So thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to say that.
Of course, thank you. Ms. Goldstein?
One of the things that we've been going back and forth on is, from what I hear, and please correct me if I'm getting something wrong from an administrative position, is that we've been presented a proposed budget. We as a school committee are saying that's not okay. We want something different. We keep being asked if you have any ideas. We're open to hearing them. The fact that there aren't any changes that have come from central administration made me believe that you feel like this is the least bad option for a proposed budget at this point.
That's fair to say. And just to add to that, I would say, looking at this whole visual, because it helps me kind of think, I go back to, we want all these positions, but if I have to look at where I'm going to go, either now or in June, Mr. Dean, I'm going to the essentials. So I recommend 4 now and we lose money in the spring, I'm back here again. These came on in 2021. We were, these are new positions. So that's where I'd go. Not that I want to go there, but, and talking about McCourt, we're really sensitive about McCourt, and we know we added teaming back. We added the dean, right? A lot of work's been done down there, and essentials was certainly part of that. But it's about survival for me, as far as like, what do you pick off this thing? Mr. McGrath and I have looked a lot. I know people always think the other 4 million of the stuff, you can find it there. I heard someone once say they always find it. So we have done that, but we're trying to make sure these are legit budget numbers, where nothing's fluffy in this thing. So we're trying to make sure it's gonna, all come true. But yeah, I think you're right. It's least bad. That's a good way to say it.
Mr. Dean?
Yeah, I know it was a somber meeting, but just to be clear, we're not cutting anything. We don't want to cut anything. We got 4.5 from the town. We don't cut any of these employees, but you know what I mean? So hopefully let's, it's tough for us to talk about who to cut. I'm sure at the town level, it's tough for them to talk about what services they can cut and where to find money to give to the schools, just like it's tough for us to talk about the employees. So, we work with what we're given. And if we're like you said, and Mrs. Smith said, if we're given the money that the school needs to operate based on the constant increasing and future increasing of the the load, then the next meeting won't be as difficult. So I think anybody watching this, your task is to reach out to your representative at the town and tell them that we need the money at the schools to be able to operate.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
To Mrs. Goldstein, to your point about bringing up other things. So we did discuss it the other night, and I don't know, Dr. Thornton, if you were able to go back and look at it. We looked at the combination of the AP and the honors classes, and is there some way to do something there? We looked at what we have for CTE programs. What are we trending with some of those programs? Can there be cuts there? So some of those things, like I said, and we said the other day, maybe we can't put positions around it, but if we are, I don't have a problem. I know we have to approve the budget with cuts. In the way that it's written, I think that you have gotten every penny that you can wherever you can. It's where we're assigning those cuts that I'm trying to wrap myself around, and I don't want to approve a budget tonight in the way that we have it, and then go and talk and say, no, we approve those specific cuts as well without knowing that other information. I mean, we've got to look at some of the other programs. If they're not gaining as money, then maybe we need to look at some of those and joining them together somehow.
Right. And I know on Tuesday I mentioned this, but I'll mention it for the group again. We did do a high school run of classes running 10 or under right now. And I told you on Tuesday, it's a little early, but if we are making more reductions like we did last year, I recommended we take some sections off. Of the 31 right now that are 10 or under, around 1/3 of them are special ed programs, which are certainly not going to not run. We have some that we are comboing. We have one example I gave you on Tuesday. We have a French 4 honors with 7 kids, I think, and a French 4 AP with 9. We're going to combo it, and 16 is going to run. That's a run, right? So we keep looking at the list, but yes, out of this list, we keep working the list. And at some point, we do sit down with a highlighter, and if we can knock out some sections, 5 sections equals a teacher, right? So if we get 10 sections out of the whole high school, that's 2 teachers. But that's something, as the schedule gets more populated in the late spring, it's concrete and you can look at this thing right now. I can show it to you, but it's still kind of early. That's what it looks like right now.
Sorry. And Dr. Thornton, quick question. I know with the cuts, the 2 essential teachers at McCourt, 2 essential teachers at North, that's 4. If one of those schools needs more essential teachers than the other, they don't necessarily have to stay there. They would go where the need is within the school district.
That's right. Out of Tony's office, after they get the data for the need, they assign the staff based on the need. So that's something that happens every year.
So at the end of the day, we're really approving a number. And it's kind of like, with policy, when we approve a policy, but not necessarily the procedures that actually go in to enact that. So that's the way I'm looking at this budget right now.
Thank you. So any other sorry, I'm losing my voice. Any other discussion? Okay. Discussion and a vote to approve fiscal year school budget amendments. These are, right? Do we do that? I don't know.
Or is this
Just let that go? Just ignore that?
Because we're not making them.
This is where I get very confused. Okay, so that's done. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Discussion and a vote to approve fiscal year 27 superintendent's proposed budget.
I would motion to approve.
Ms. Feather motions, second by Ms. Goldstein. Discussion? Ms. Smith, I'm sorry.
Is there a way for us to, and I don't know if this has to be, how this has to be worded with our legal or whatever it is, approving the budget and approving the budget with the specific items listed, to me are 2 different things tonight, because we're still looking at other opportunities and other ways, as Dr. Thornton talked about. He's already looked at combining other classes and what that could mean, and maybe that will shorten the specific list here. Or change the specific list that we have on the personnel reductions. So is there a way for us to approve it without putting those identifying factors specifically to those specific positions and personnel in here right now? And I guess that's the pleasure of the committee on how we want to manage that.
So I'm hearing motion in the second is a motion in a second to accept what the superintendent has presented. If there was a desire by the committee to amend the current motion and have it be, we're going to cut the dog catcher or not the dog catcher, or we're not going to cut anybody specific, but we're going to reduce it by X, Y, Z, then you'd have to make a motion to amend the motion on the floor, get a second, that would have to pass, and then you would have a vote on the motion as amended. Are you following me? So you just have to make a motion to amend whatever you want to do, whoever the you is in that, and have it be seconded and then approved. And if it's approved, the amended motion is voted upon.
And my understanding regarding this list that you put together is to give people ample notice about the strategy, and so they know what's going on as well. Oh, sorry. And it's
Ms. Drezik for that, I think.
our matrix, we have our non-renewed teachers. So we are held to certain dates that we have to let teachers know whether or not they're going to have a job, especially tenured teachers. So the earlier we can get that information to them, we can kind of break down the matrix because we have to lay off by seniority. So knowing the positions that are being cut is important because I have to look at everybody's certification and figure out which teachers that are tenured would have to be laid off. So the sooner that we had very specific information, the better that would be for us.
Thank you. I'm sorry, when is the matrix coming out? What is, because that plays into this.
That's typically, oh, go ahead, Bonnie.
So the matrix comes out the day after the town council approves the budget. So we have it ready to go generally by June 1st. And as soon as we get the okay on the budget, we start the matrix. But notification of tenured teachers has to happen prior to June 1st.
That wouldn't be just notification. There'd need to be an action.
Yes.
Just like the March 1st deadline for a layoff based on financial exigency, which is the standard, you would have to take an action and provide notice after the action on or before June 1. So there's a process that needs to play out.
If I could add to that, if I remember the process correctly also, if we knew what the number was prior to June 1, but we had the number, it's out there, we would take action. And then if we get more money, we would recall, Ms. Drezek?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the fiscal year 27 superintendent's proposed budget. We have a second. Discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay.
No.
That passes 4-3 with Mr. Dean, Mr. Bacon, and Ms. Smith in the negative. Schedule additional budget workshops if needed. I think at this time we are good. Discussion only. Transpar group update on transportation and redistricting study. Dr. Thornton.
We met yesterday, Ms. Goldstein, and we talked with Transpar again. We're now meeting every 2 weeks, and they did finalize the parameters as far as what they're going to model for us. So, for example, the high school can't be any earlier than 7:15. We also put in things you wanted to look at. For example, having, one tier for elementary, what would that look like? Having schools at 9 o'clock, what would that look like? So we gave them all the wishes and all the parameters and all the don'ts, like don't put the middle school kids with the elementary kids in the same bus run. So we kind of, did all those, right? And Ms. Goldstein, what else do we tackle?
We talked a little bit about not non-negotiables, non-eligible bus zones. So the distances that we have by policy that are not where we don't offer a bus, and what those would look like. But they talked a little bit about increasing or decreasing. Nobody had the flavor to increase them any further. But we talked a little bit about that. They're sort of talking about that as the first step in terms of trying to come up with some more efficiency, if there's efficiency in bus routes, and which would lead into redistricting and bell times. They are coming out on site at the end of April for 3 or 4 days. And that will include one of our stakeholder meetings to talk a little bit about.
We also talked about opt-in, Ms. Smith, and how some districts were looking at that, and we're actually involving Mr. Adams on that as far as how that could work. So that is a conversation. And one of the gentlemen on Transpar, Chris, did opt in, and so he has a personal experience. It's not without its bumps. So that's a discussion we're having. And the last thing was, we asked him when would they start tackling boundaries. He said that's probably this summer.
Ms. Feather?
With regard to the opt-in, I'm very interested in hearing about that as well. I just kind of, in my head, think about ways in which folks can help with budgeting. And I know that if it were me, I know I'm not eligible for busing, so it's not me. But if it were me, I'd be like, okay, that's one way I can contribute, by not opting in. So just a thought.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Reminder that the Thursday, April 30th meeting has been rescheduled to Wednesday, April 29th. Next, comments from the public? Please state your name, your address. You have 3 minutes to comment, and the committee normally does not respond.
Deborah Malcolm, 878 Black Plain Road in North Smithfield. Tonight, I'm speaking to you as a parent of a son who recently transferred into the Law and Public Safety CTE pathway at Cumberland High School. It would be a disservice if I did not acknowledge the administration and staff who took the time, the care, and compassion to ease his transition. Mr. Adolfo Costa and Ms. Heather DeFino were pivotal in assisting with his transition. The guidance department, as well as the special education department, in particular, Michelle Fournier, Elaine Bodwin, Karen Skerry, and Michelle McIntosh, have created a welcoming environment that has not gone unnoticed. As many of us know, transitions can be challenging for any student, and it is clear that the administration and staff at Cumberland High School are committed not only to the academic success of each student, but to the well-being and inclusion of every student who walks through their doors. My son is excited to be at Cumberland High School Clipper. I am overjoyed to have my outgoing, happy, and energetic 14-year-old son back to the individual he has always been. Thank you to the entire team at Cumberland High School, as well as his teachers who have brought back the joy of learning into his world. I just wanted to give a shout out to Cumberland High School. They have brought my son back. Thank you.
New business, discussion and a vote to approve homeschool instruction requests for 25-26 school year. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Ms. Goldstein, second by Ms. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Discussion and or action on proposed depot stops for 26-27. At this time, we need to table it. We need to find out more information. Discussion and or vote to approve resolutions. Ms. Smith?
Yes, we have 3 resolutions tonight, SCPR 03-2026-01617 and 18. They were all discussed in the fiscal meeting earlier this evening, and there was a unanimous vote to table number 016. We just want to talk with Diggers just to get a little bit more clarification. We know it was a crazy storm and their help was just tremendous, but we just had a few more questions on that. So we're going to find a way to get those answers to those questions. And we'll bring that back for the next meeting. And the other two, 017 and 018, passed fiscal subcommittee with a vote of 3-0, and I would make a recommendation to approve those two.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve SCPR 03-2026-017 to SCPR 03-2026-018. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Dean. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Discussion and a vote to approve payment of bills. Ms. Smith?
Yes, we have one bill this evening, and that is $138,851.69. That was discussed and it did pass in fiscal 3-0, and I would make a motion to approve.
Ms. Smith makes a motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $138,851.69. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Dean. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Shea. Second by Mr. Dean. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes 7-0. We adjourn at 7:53 PM.